I had a really crappy conversation with someone that got me on a quite interesting trail of thought about apologies, the words I'm sorry in general, why people struggle to say it, and why it's so closely linked to the feeling of defeat. So after someone didn't apologise to me, I felt quite defeated, just not defeated, I suppose, deflated by the experience. I was just asking a company a question and they misunderstood the question. So they got really frustrated and they were just quite aggressive and rude on the phone. They were just not willing to be that helpful. Once they realised that the question I asked wasn't the one that they thought, you almost heard like the penny drop moment, like, oh crap, like I didn't realise that. But rather than say, I didn't realise that that's what you meant, I can help with that, they dug their heels in harder and continued to like try and have this weird battle-like conversation with me. So I decided to cut it short and I said, I'm going to be honest, we're not going to get anywhere and I don't want this conversation. And I literally said I'd like to end the conversation. And I always heard his brain malfunction and him be like, I don't understand what's happening. Honesty and no ego being sent my way. What do I do? I genuinely heard him just sort of be like, what? So I ended the conversation. I wished him a nice day and ended the conversation. And I got off the phone and I was like still riled up because obviously we've all got an internal ego. We've all got an instinctive reaction to things. Someone annoys you, you're annoyed. Someone says something stupid, you're feeling frustrated. Someone doesn't say I'm sorry when they've been stupid, you want them to say I'm sorry. So by not leading with ego after that and not reacting to people, you're actually showing a lot more strength than the one digging the heels in and trying to peck away at you. And I think that sort of takes people by surprise when you don't join in this like fight of crap that's just pointless. So I just thought, well, what went on there? Like, what went on in that guy's head? I realised that the words I'm sorry are just so linked with the feeling of being defeated and a lesser human. If you say I'm sorry, you're like something's broken inside, and we need to detach that and have a look at both things, because actually the words I'm sorry are so linked to strength. They're so linked to the opposite. They're not linked to being defeated at all. They're linked to you acknowledging another human, you recognising that you may have done something wrong, you not having a problem with that, and expressing that, more importantly, expressing that you have done something wrong and you're going to correct it to another person takes a lot of strength, way more than digging your heels in, being super defensive and trying to have an argument with someone for the sake of an argument that just goes round and round and round, takes up all our energy and time. Came down, I was like, ugh. And I vented on Instagram story a little bit, like, I'm just feeling really defeated right now. Yeah, it made me think back to a time at school that I wore my hair in a bun. It wasn't really the done thing to wear your hair in a bun, but I was a ballet girl, so I wore my hair in a bun. And one of my close friends said they didn't like it. I was 14, feeling super self-conscious, and I had to wear my hair like it all day because I'd hairsprayed that bun up. Yeah, it was in tight. So I told them that it upset me because I thought, well, I'm feeling like all upset by this person now and it's going to be weird. Just tell them you're upset. They'll say sorry. They might reassure you that you don't look like a complete idiot at school at 14 years old and life moves on. But what I didn't expect was them to get super, super defensive about it. And they did. So they got really defensive and it turned into like this argument. And I was like, oh no. What's happened here? This human can't say the words I'm sorry. They can't say it. Just say I'm sorry. So I had to kind of like coach this friend over time how to say the words I'm sorry, and we've sort of made it a bit of a joke, but it's so true. So many people find it really hard to apologise. They just can't physically can't do it. So I read a while back, and I can't remember where I read this, that when we have an argument with someone, instinctively we go into like this mental headspace of battle, and it's like we're quite literally battling for our lives. It's like you're arguing to death. So when we lose an argument, we literally feel like we've lost a part of ourselves, like we've just lost an arm. Like that argument was an axe to the arm. Now we've just not got an arm, just not got an arm. If we're in that headspace, then of course like a tiny thing is going to feel huge. And we've all been there. We've all been there in that situation where you're having a really normal conversation and then something just switches and it turns into this argument. You don't even remember how it started. You're like 10 minutes into this argument, you don't know how it started. And it's because you can't stop. And you can't stop because you're trying to win. You're not just trying to win for the sake of the argument, you're trying to survive. And that's what goes on in our heads. So now knowing this, you can sort of detach yourself from that. So earlier on the phone, I was like, yep, we're about to battle. We're about to go to war. But I don't want to fight this fight today. So I'm going to put the phone down. And if we all recognise that, one, we can come away from an argument that we know is pointless and is just an argument for the sake of an argument. And two, for those that struggle to say I'm sorry, now knowing this, you can sort of recognise that actually it's not worth it. Neither of us are going to die over the, tiny disagreement that you're having. Let's just recognise that I may have hurt them and apologise really quickly, because the words I'm sorry do not defeat you. They don't make you a lesser person. They only show strength, positivity, that you care for the other person, that you acknowledge that other person has feelings, that you care about those feelings. Or even if it's a work situation like the one earlier, I wouldn't have gone off the phone if he'd apologised and said, well, he's stupid. He had to apologise because he misheard a question I said. I'd be like, what a nice guy, yay. Ended up helping him in the end. He just got a bit confused earlier. I probably wouldn't have even thought about it because I would have just been happy that he apologised, sorted it out for me. I wouldn't have even given it a thought, which is better than thinking negative things about another human. Although I'm not feeling too negatively towards him, I just feel that he's probably very stressed right now, as are most people, and that he, like a lot of people, has a bit of an issue with the words I'm sorry. But just remember, every time you pick up your phone and you go on Facebook, you are going to be faced with opposing opinions, different viewpoints, the opposite political views to you, a complete opposite way of whatever lifestyle it is that you're choosing to lead, what diet you're on. It's constant. If we get instinctively triggered to enter a war over everything, disagreement on the phone, a work call, a misunderstanding, just a miscommunication, then we're going to be releasing an awful lot of stress inside of us. It's not going to help. So every time you enter an argument, you're releasing this stress, which actually does decrease your immune system and actually does higher our risk of catching things and colds, which is very apt at the minute to think about. If you can avoid any sort of stressors, then please do. My point is it worth it? One, is it worth entering the conversation at all or just cutting it short like I did? And two, if you're the person that finds it really difficult to apologise, is it worth the stress that you are putting the other person through by just not being able to drop your ego and say, I got that wrong, I'm sorry, and then continue in a positive conversation that will actually lift both your moods? So something to think about.